say, you can even say that in the, you can even ask me if I'm ready in the introduction.
Well, are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, let me say this. Welcome to the first vlog ever for Let Me Say This. I'm Aiden A.D.
Meagan.
Yeah, Meagan, I'm all the way live from Las Vegas.
And I am coming in from Chicago, the Windy City.
The Windy City up in Chicago.
It's not windy. It's
Megan's
gorgeous.
Looking good today. Megan always looks good. Megan always looks good. But she got her hair done. She got the earrings in. She got that good lighting going on. She came prepared today. She was ready. Let me say this. It's kind of like, it's like a vlog, basically giving our opinions on everything that's going on in the world, whether it be politics, whether it be art, whether it be social issues, or just random stuff that happened throughout our week and our day that we just want to have something to say on. So me and Megan have a history, and Megan, I'm gonna let you elaborate on our history together.
Oh, I just met him one day and he decided that he thought I was so gorgeous, and I was like, thank you so much. No, I'm kidding. We undergrad at a school in Georgia. You want to name that school? I don't know. We want to give them free shout outs. But
I wasn't going to name the school either because I still owe them money and they haven't helped me career wise. So I don't really give any shout outs until I feel like they deserve a shout out. So, but yeah, we met each other in undergrad.
But we'll at least say that we were a part of the theater theater program, and we did shows together. So that's how we met. And we were cool.
We were cool, yeah. We kept in contact ever since then. I know a few times in undergrad I got on Megan's nerves, and I probably like hit a nerve with her a time or two unintentionally, but you know, we're all good now, right, Megan?
I also met him of another name, but we're going to go with Aiden for now.
Can't be telling everybody my business. So, yeah, before we get started, I just want to say for people who are watching, today is 2020, that's the year, but it's Sunday, June 21st. That means it is Father's Day. So I want to just give a shout out to all the fathers out there who are doing what they should be doing, who are doing what they want to do, who are exceeding the expectations of being a father. So thank you for being a part of your child's life. Thank you for supporting, upbringing your child, and just hopefully raising them to be great human beings. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yes, happy Father's Day. I know some wonderful men, some wonderful fathers. They're friends of mine, and I adore you, and today is your day. Cheers. See my green smoothie?
Falling off my chair getting my water, but yeah, this is my lemon water right here. Well, okay, so I know this is not part of the podcast, but you know, let's just do a little improv section just now. So we just said happy Father's Day. I want you to think about that one father figure in your life, and just like if you want to, just elaborate on him and how he had an impact on your life.
Me?
Yes. I can go first.
Oh yeah, you can. Whatever. I mean, I'm always gonna ride out for my dad. Like, you know, it's complicated. I was raised by a single parent, but I still felt like I had my dad, even though we had such a unique relationship. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee originally. I moved there when I was, I think, my 7th birthday was happening or something like that back in the day, to Macon, Georgia. And that was the first time I was really separated from my dad, because my dad lived in Memphis. So I always saw my dad when I was in Memphis, and he would come get me in the summertime, and I would go to Mississippi, which is where he's from, his native place. So, I mean, it was complicated, but I still feel like my dad did teach me things, and I miss him a lot sometimes, but glad that, you know, what happened because it needed to.
Right.
And, but there are plenty of people that the whole father thing is just hard for a lot of people. So yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's like my father wasn't a part of my life, but however, I did have a strong man in my life, and that was my grandfather. May he rest in peace, Grandpa Young. I just remember, especially like my young adult years, where I needed more of a guidance to, especially from a familiar person. My mom did get married, but however, it was hard for me to build like a father relationship with my stepfather because I was like 15, 16 at the time. So that whole time I had other father figures in my life that included my grandfather and my uncle. So I looked to them as father figures, especially because both of them are already fathers themselves, especially my uncle. He's a father of 3 boys and he's a husband as well. So it's kind of like, he had his own thing going on. So I think it was like not up to, but I think my grandfather just kind of took over that role to be that father figure in my life. So, he was a huge disciplinarian. He was huge in religion. He was huge in the community. And he was just, he had his ways about himself too that kind of affected down the line. Not like negative as far as like, it's going to affect, you as a person, but it's just like, well, that's just grandpa. That's how he is. But, you appreciate stuff like that because having that authoritative figure and having that, I guess that what's it called, that opposing view kind of opened your eyes up to how you see the world and how you move about the world. So I was glad that he was in my life to instill that in me. So may he rest in peace in paradise, Grandpa Young.
Yes.
All right. So here's what we're going to talk about for this first blog. Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle. Black man comedian, thinker, innovator.
I'm just sorry, I can't say that word. It's his favorite word, though,
With the N-word? Oh, okay, wait, we're going to have to talk about, I'm going to write that note down. But Dave Chappelle released a comedy special on YouTube called 846. Now, for me, I think it was more of an intake of how he's seeing the racial injustices that's going on in this world. And it's more of his opinion, and he's using his platform to get it out there. So I think it was meant to be a stand-up routine. Some parts were funny, but it was more about his emotion and how he wanted to communicate how he was feeling about all the racial injustices and about what's going on in the world. What do you think?
For me, I have to start with the beginning because I'm like, okay, we're in a pandemic, right? And I did appreciate that he showed the process of making sure that they were being cautious during this time. And like you saw the marking off of the seats, and it was in twos, and the face mask and the checking of temperatures. So I was like, I see you trying to be smart.
Conscious, yeah.
Try to be cautious. Hadn't been on stage in 86 days, which is like 2.5 months. So I know that is needed to get something out of his shit. And basically just giving us a rundown list of how it went down and how he feels about it, and really being like, y'all don't see the pattern? Ain't this fucked up? Like, I've been talking about this. It's not new. Go somewhere with that shit, darling, because I've been, and the thing that is so striking to me is also how 846, because he talks about Kobe too, how 846 and 824 gave him an energy of like, gave him this energy of feeling it felt close to home for him. You know what I mean? Like, so 846 being the time of birth and 824 being his birthday when it came to Kobe. He's talking about energy and history and this cycle, how it comes back to us all the time in many signs, in many ways. He drove off from a cop that pulled him over safely with a warning, and that same cop shot a kid a week later. He's got to feel that. He has
to feel that weight, that energy, because it was put out there, and so now he's receiving it. So he doesn't know how to take it, because it's like that could have been him, you know. And the thing, I think he said, like, I'm Dave Chappelle. The cop probably knew who he was, so it's like, I'm not going to kill Dave Chappelle. I'm not going to get into a bad altercation with Dave Chappelle because he has a higher platform than me, and then I get negative energy and I might lose my livelihood, you know. Maybe that was the case.
What were some things that you do with the special?
So one of the things that, you know how sometimes you're like, you don't expect anything, and it kind of like, once you receive it, like punches you in the face. It's like acting, how it's like you receive that line, it's like a whole lot of weight to it. So as the actor receiving that line, you're like, how do you respond? How do you feel? What do you observe? The one thing he said, why is everybody looking at me to say something when the streets are talking for themselves? That was powerful to me, because I think us as a society nowadays, where we haven't had those kind of leaders as far as like activism or people in powerful positions, as stuff was like in the 60s with the civil rights movement, or with the 70s and the Black Panther movement, or just any other like movement, where we put us as Americans, us as humans, we're always looking for like a figure to like fight with us or fight for us or stand for us or use their platform to say something. So it was like, why isn't Dave Chappelle out there? Why isn't this celebrity out there? He was like, because the people who live it every single day, who aren't as privileged as me, they're speaking for themselves. So who gives an F about what I have to say? I'm a comedian. And it's like, this whole time is like, he was like, I've been using my art. Like he said, I've been telling you guys all this time, like throughout all my specials, throughout all my sets, before today, before Trayvon Martin, I've been letting you know, like, there's racial injustices going on in America. Now, the thing about it is, I wasn't too like in your face or brash with it, because I am a comedian. It's part of my set. I'm gonna make you laugh, but at the same time, let you think about what's going on. I bring light to what's going on. Now, it's up to you to be like, oh yeah, that is kind of messed up. Okay, what's the next show, Dave Chappelle? Or it's just like, once you leave his set or his show, you're like, yo, makes you really think, like, is this stuff really going on? Like, and it's like, do I take action knowing that I'm aware of it, or it's not affecting me, so I'm aware of it, but I'm not really going to do anything for it? And it's like, what can I do as a human being that I know that all this stuff is going on out there? So the fact that he said the streets are talking, that hit with me. The fact that we talked about this before, I always wondered, like, after going to a comedy show, how you have a host, how you have like, you know, dancing and music, how you have the opening act. But I wonder, people who attended that show, you know, they had the mask, they were checking temperatures, everybody was social distancing. There was music playing in the background, but I wonder, for not having a host, for not having an opening act, did it set the mood for the people, knowing that they might not be getting jokes after jokes after jokes? And knowing that it is Dave Chappelle, whose audience is everybody from Black, from Latino to white to old to young to middle age, you know, I wonder what were they wondering, what was he going to say? As far as like, oh, he hasn't been on stage for 3 months or 80, however many days. So what's the first thing that's going to come out of Dave Chappelle? What's he going to talk about? All eyes are on Dave Chappelle, because he was the first comedian to do something like that. So that's what stood out to me, just like the setting of it all, the fact that the streets are now talking. And he said something else, but I lost my train of thought, but I'll get back to it.
Be like that. Want to add that I believe we as the audience at home who watched it on TV probably felt the same energy as those in the audience, which is to say, he set it up. He said, this is weird. This is a weird time. And he said, you know, he titled it 846 and said, I want to say something about George Floyd. I'm not sure yet what I want to say. And then, and that genius found what he wanted to say. He talked about being in an earthquake for seconds and having fear of, am I going to die? And linked it to, that was seconds. I cannot imagine 8 minutes and 46 seconds on my neck.
Knowing I'm going to die.
That was like, clear. That was the lifeline. That was the tag connecting thread of a story for us as the audience to go, whoa, shit.
Yeah, because I couldn't imagine. I was in a life or death situation twice in my life, and one was out of my control. And I'm not going to get into specifics, but it had to deal with flying an airplane while it was up in the air. So just that, I can tell as an earthquake, for me, I was helpless at that time. It was anything out of my control. But knowing that George Floyd had 8 minutes and 46 seconds of being helpless, being on the ground, handcuffed, and then somebody's applying pressure to your neck, not only messing with your spinal, but your air intake. So the on concrete. And then knowing that you're dying, that's the scary part for me. It's just like, you know, one of my fears is like being buried alive. And just like that state of helplessness. And the fact that I have no control over that. And so just thinking about being buried alive scares me. But for George Floyd, knowing that he could possibly die, or maybe he just probably accepted the fact that he was just going to die for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, like it's a long time and you have no control. So I feel what Dave Chappelle, like, especially when he delivered saying like this man was on his back for 8 minutes and 40 seconds, how he delivered it, how that pain, that anger, and that fear was just coming out in the tone of his voice. Mm-hmm. And only thing, and then, you know, that's what Dave Chappelle was saying. But then for George Floyd, who was helplessly saying, I'm dying, begging for his life. Like, to see that. And so I get where Dave Chappelle is like channeling his frustrations, especially now that he has a platform to say something like that. And George Floyd doesn't have a platform anymore. It's not like George Floyd, you know, went into a coma and came back and could just like talk about what happened. It's like you can't talk to him about like how he felt in that moment. We see how he felt in that moment, but as like human being, you can't talk about it. So when you look at that with George Floyd, you think about all the other people who were killed or who were affected by racial injustices, who can't speak for themselves right now. Think about the Emmett Tills. Think about the Trayvon Martins. Think about the Ahmaud Arbery's, the Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland. And it's like, when you
try to fight, because you got people you named that tried to fight for their lives and still
died.
Lives, yeah.
And you can't have a conversation. Like, I can talk about how I felt on that plane when that plane was going down. Dave Chappelle can talk about that earthquake. They can't talk about them dying. It's not like they recovered, they died. So I get him as a comedian. You know, comics are here to tell jokes, try to make the light of every situation. But I think it affected him so much with the numerology, with the fact that he believes in spirits and numerology, and that he experienced a near-death situation, and then he knows how it feels as a black man to get pulled over. But he has a level of privilege. I think we all have a level of privilege, especially black privilege, that he was able to drive away with the warning. Think about the black people who aren't famous, who didn't get off with the warning, whose stories have not been told, that are dead now. So
Well, that's what he was saying. He was saying, you know, in Beaver Creek, where he was from, the kid who got killed, the community rallied, tried to say his name, rally around it, but it got drowned out because the next week was Mike Brown.
mm-hmm.
And the name that was uplifted and was in the news. And so, yes, it's plenty of people. It's plenty of people that have lost their lives that we don't even
care about
know on that platform. So I think that like I said, I think that the earthquake was something that stuck out to me and connecting that to 846, the title of the special. I felt like he had some quotables. I personally, the key keys for me, because we talked about it not being solely funny or whatever, but the things that did make me laugh was no one wants to hear what Ja Rule has to say.
It's murder! I would play Ghost Boy.
Celebrities, you could have named, you just go really throw Ja Rule under the bus. But I laughed. It was hilarious. And when he said, what did he say? He said something, because, you know, Azealia Banks said that I'm gonna start telling on all these MFers who ain't protecting me. Dave Chappelle, we smashed. And he's like, did not address it into the special. He was like, when he was talking about Candace Owens, and he was like, you know, I'll be like Azealia Banks, I'll tell it. And he just thought that was so funny because that was his way of addressing.
Right.
He felt was absurd. Some people still think it's true, but.
So here's my question to you, or just to anybody else watching. Where does comedy go from here? And where do well-known comedians go from here? Like, once the pandemic ends, and if we get some sort of racial justice, will it go back to normal, or will comedians won't be afraid to speak out what's going on at the same time being funny? Like, do you think their platform is going to? Do you think their platform as a comedian is going to change to be more advocates at the same time being funny, or do you see more comedians doing what he did? Do you see Chris Rock coming out? Do you see Kevin Hart? Do you see theaters coming out doing stuff like this?
It depends on what you mean by change, because comedians have always used activism. I mean, when I think about Chris Rock, you talk about genres. Comedy has genres. It's observational comedy, it's physical comedy, it's black comedy, it's satire. It's people that got to understand when they're looking at a comedian, they got to know what genre they're under before they get offended. It's like you got to layer it, right? It's like an onion, okay? You can't just think that they and there's not a whole other story underneath it depending on what genre they represent, right? And I think Dave Chappelle is observational. I think he's black. I think he's satirical. He's all these things, right? Chris Rock is always talks about politics. Has always talked about politics. Has always talked about being black as well. So you've never not seen a black comedian not talk about their blackness, because that's how they move in the world in that body. So I don't per se think that it would be new for them to talk about the things that they experience and their experiences. Does that make sense? I will say what they probably will learn from Dave Chappelle is that comedy can now transform itself outside of just the clubs.
Okay. Yeah, because so what I meant, like, because I know, like, the comedians have always put this stuff in their material. But I meant as in, like, do you think comedians will be more forefront with it rather than try to tie it in with comedy? Do you see them being more activists, like, on social media, or do you see them doing more soapbox kind of things like this, like one woman show? Because for me, I think it was set up like a stand-up comedy set, but it really became a soapbox, because I think And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's more like a platform.
I was about to say, you gotta say it differently.
Yeah. That's why I had to catch myself. I don't mean like a soapbox, but just more like, because as you can see, I think his intentions was to like tell jokes at the same time, still what's going on. But I think he got passionate throughout his throughout the set of 846 and started speaking freely from the heart, because he had notes and things he wanted to touch on. As you can see throughout his set, he kept looking at his book, like for talking points. And I've always said, like, I think he wanted to say something more, but I just think he either got too passionate and he got tired about what he was going to say, or he probably was like, if I go on, I might say something that, you know, might be taken differently. But I'm pretty sure right now.
I don't think Dave is the type to give not one damn about what.
Of course not. Of course not. If anything,
you know what I'm saying?
As far as comedy, he's like one of the only comedians left who really stick by comedy. Be like, hey, yeah, it may be PC, but at the same time, it's freaking comedy. So
and he's fighting for it. He fights for it all the time.
Yeah, take your PC stuff over there. But I was just like, I really think there's more to what he wanted to say. He just didn't finish it for a various amount of reasons that probably will never know.
But I think it's not say about what he has. I don't think, for me, I don't think it's about him wanting to go on. I think he's smart enough to know when to stop.
And that's probably another thing too. Yeah, that could be incorporated in that as well. So, yeah, but hopefully, and I just don't want to say black comedians too. There's a variety of comedians out there, well-known comedians, the Bill Burrs, the Jim Jeffries, the Russell Peters, the Gabrielle Iglesias. Those are just non-black comedians. But I wonder, it's just like, because a few of their materials speak on racial issues as well in their own way, because their audience is different. But I wonder, like,
hell, so
say it again.
Today, black.
I'm just saying comedy in general. I just all right. So, anything else about 846 you want to touch on?
Yes, I have a few more things. So the quotes, I love them. I loved when I don't want to give Candace Owen a platform. She does not deserve it. She will only get a thin layer of this for me, only because the quote that he had is.
Let me pause you right there. Yeah. So when it comes to that woman, I don't say her name. I'll probably say like rhymes with Shmanda Shmowens, because that's still giving her power. And so that's just me. Like if I don't rock with you, because you know I say President 45. That's it. I don't say his actual name. I probably only said it like 9 times within the past 4 to 5 years. But I just say President 45 because I don't give that man I don't say that man's name. So, but okay, so go on.
So in this term, that girl. You know that girl. That kicker in the pussy. That girl.
The whose name rhymes with Shmanda Shmowens.
Waste. When he said that was a waste of. When he said no, he didn't say that. He said, it was the worst way to try to make money. To live your life like that, to be so opposing against your people, and he just thought it is laughable. But I thought that quotable was so correct. That is such a shitty way to make sure your livelihood. It's not even guaranteed. That's such a 15 minutes of fame tactic.
Yes.
And to be that articulate, he's like, that person is so articulate that she even sounds dumb. Like she sounds good being dumb.
Anything else for?
Yes. So I want to because I want to tie it in. Two more quotables. Two quotes that I liked were also. I use the word bitch because it's black.
He said that?
Yes, he did. Because he kept saying bitch and he kept saying the N-word.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then he said, any N-word that survives this nightmare, in reference to that girl, is my hero. I don't care what they did. They didn't deserve to die like that. And then the other one I liked was every institution we trust lies to us. Where is it? And then lastly, Chris, want to get the name right, Chris Donner. That was hilarious. Chris Donner was the LAPD cop, the black cop who got fired because he told that his fellow officer was being overly aggressive.
Excessive force.
Using excessive force in their thing. Now, being the type of student that I am, because I'm also an educator as well as an actor, I'm because why not? I believe every single word that man wrote. No one is writing a letter that long and that detailed that is lying about anything. And if we know anything about LAPD, NYPD, all that stuff, they've been corrupt. Y'all be having ties to all kinds of stuff. So everything that man was so detailed, he even talked about all the racism he witnessed as a child and how he had to check it, how he always had to defend. He was like, they tried to make me out to be a bully. I'm not a bully. I've always stood up for what was right. Okay? And he lists off a slew of celebrities. And the thing about the manifesto is that it's also hilarious. He is saying everything with his chest, and he's basically like, and I was like, this man is not lying. They try in the media, they use the media to make him a criminal. What all he did was pull some Nat Turner. I was like, that's Nat Turner. He pulling up to people, police house and killing their daughters and it's rebellion.
Mm-hmm. But when something like that happens, it's funny how when that happens, some people don't understand why that had happened, why he did go Nat Turner. Because it's just like, it's the same thing with, I think, after people seeing George Floyd, it's like, it was that tick that a lot of people had, especially black people. It's like, how do you go from Ahmaud Arbery to that incident that happened in New York City with the woman who was walking her dog, calling the police, saying like, "There's an African-American man threatening me." Yeah, and then you go to George Floyd, and it happened like in the span of like, well, I know Ahmaud happened in like a month, and so it was just like, and then you put on top like a lot of people aren't working, especially people of color, because a lot of us have non-essential jobs. So it's like that boiling point of we have months of not doing anything. We keep seeing ourselves being killed. The resources aren't really offered for us to survive, to live. And then it was just like, boom, you see that death. It's 4 of you against 1. You have handcuffs, you have pepper spray, you have guns, you have, tasers. So that's 4 times 4, 16 factors against this one factor of somebody can't defending themselves against like one person, George Floyd, 4 cops, each of them has 4 different weapons or 4 different ways of detaining somebody. The ratio is low, and then the fact that you're killing him slowly to death and you're just sitting there with hands in your pocket.
Is what I want to say to end the 846 is, this is history that Dave Chappelle did. He did something out of the box. He started in the 90s. And what I want to say about Dave is, what I find striking is that he came from a household of educators. His mom was an educator. That says a lot to how he presents his comedy. You could tell this man reads. You could tell he's aware. You know that you're dealing with a smart person, and that is what I mean when I talk about artistry and being a craftsman of your craft. Someone who is really dedicated and passionate to making their arts do something, right? Impactful, where they have a legacy, where they're leaving something behind. We 20 years from now, 10 years from now, probably even 5 years from now, we're going to put him in the history books of
comedy
and doing this at this time, hands down.
Yeah, he is an innovator. This is an innovator for comedians. This is an innovating moment for comedy. Yeah, because this is like, you know.
He says that.
Right. And the thing about it, it was genuine. It wasn't like this kind of setup like, oh, Dave Chappelle's going to speak. And it just happened out of nowhere. You know, he just dropped it. It's like, boom, I said what I said. It's not like
you didn't feel like he was using someone's misfortune or someone's, you know,
attention to him. Yeah. Yeah, to bring attention to him. And it wasn't like, oh, Dave Chappelle's doing a stand-up on June 15th and everybody's like looking eyes at what he's going to say. He's just like, no, small setup. Don't tell the public. If people want tickets, you know, get my biggest fans, I'll fly them out, whatever. And then in the middle of nowhere, set up this thing. And it's just like, only people who knew about it was probably like people in Dave's camp and the people who were
I did hear that some of George Floyd's family was in attendance.
Okay. But like I said, it wasn't like a broadcasted thing. It's just like, you know, I'm just doing it silently. It's not like I want to elaborate why I'm doing this. It's just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to let the general public, I'm going to let the art speak for itself. I'm going to let the general public take it as it is. If they like it, great. They get the message, great. If they don't, hopefully they'll watch it again. Keep watching it until you finally get the message. And if you don't, you know, hopefully eventually one day you'll get it.
I'll tell you what was hilarious though. Watching him try to light that damn cigarette. I'm like, look, Dave, I just need you to pause and just light the damn cigarette. You've been lighting this cigarette for half of the This man has got millions of dollars and a lighter to light his cigarette. That within itself tickled me. Last thing Dave Chappelle, and then I'm ending because I just got to say this. When Chris Donner put out the manifesto that week, the LAPD reached out to Dave Chappelle and said, hey, we got this letter. We want to make sure that everyone is protected because it's Grammy week. It's the Grammys, and we might have to escort you. And he was like, he liked me. No, I'm good. I am so interested in the fact that happened on Grammys week, to connect that with the Kobe 824 jersey being risen up and it being his birthday, like I said earlier, and he was winning a Grammy that day.
It's all the numbers.
Grammys ain't been right since Whitney.
That's a whole nother conversation. I'm writing that down right now. Okay. Well, there you have it, beautiful people. Thank you so much for watching. Tell us what you think. We look forward to hearing what you say. Wherever we post this to, drop your comments below. Let's have a healthy, respectable conversation with each other. Meagan, any last words?
Something positive. I like positive vibes. Something to give you in the world, because I know that we're going through a lot. But love, y'all. Respect. Love. We need more of it.
We need more of it. So be nice, be kind, be a human. And if you have not yet, go check out 846 by Dave Chappelle. And until we meet again, safe travels.